Hello fellow FODMAPers, it's Megan Marie from woodyemory.com. This is the second video in our series about IBS and the low FODMAP diet. Last week we answered the question, what is IBS? So if you missed it, be sure to go back and watch that video. Today we're going to answer the question, what the heck are FODMAPs? So bear with me. FODMAP stands for fermentable oligosaccharides, disaccharides, monosaccharides, and polyols. Basically, they're different types of carbohydrates found in food. More specifically, they're short-chain carbs or sugars that are difficult for some people to digest. So the term FODMAP was coined in 2004 by a team of researchers at Monash University in Australia who were studying the effects of different foods on gut health. They were particularly interested in testing symptoms of IBS or irritable bowel syndrome. As we talked about last week, people with IBS tend to have ultra-sensitive intestinal linings and they malabsorb certain foods. When those foods enter their digestive tract, they'll most likely experience a multitude of uncomfortable symptoms. So what happens if you have IBS and you eat those FODMAP-rich foods? Unfortunately, FODMAPs are found in almost everything you eat. Some foods have higher amounts than others, and when people with IBS eat high amounts of FODMAPs, they are malabsorbed in the small intestine. Once that food makes it into the large intestine, they're broken down very quickly by bacteria. This rapid breakdown and excess food that wasn't absorbed earlier in the digestive process can create a spike in gas production. And as these bacteria feed on what's left, they produce gases such as methane. So you end up producing more gas more quickly than someone without IBS. This increase in gas production causes your intestines to expand, which then causes your stomach to expand. And the result is, you guessed it, bloating, cramping, and abdominal pain. Just all over discomfort. Another common symptom of eating high FODMAP foods is an interruption in normal gut motility, meaning you'll likely experience changes in bowel habits, either diarrhea, constipation, or kind of a mix. This happens when food moves through the intestines too quickly and doesn't absorb enough water, leading to diarrhea, or it remains in the intestines too long and absorbs too much water, leading to constipation. There are different types of FODMAPs, so let's go over what those could be. As I mentioned earlier, there are different carbs classified as FODMAPs, and although they can be found in most foods, we're going to talk about some examples of these FODMAP offenders. We have oligosaccharides, such as fructans and galactose. These include garlic, onion, wheat, and almonds. There are disaccharides or lactose like milk, cheese, and yogurt, monosaccharides like fructose in asparagus, honey, and mango, polyols or mannitol and sorbitol in like celery and sweet potatoes. And in addition to those, there are several other triggers for IBS, such as stress, overeating, caffeine, alcohol, and even eating foods high in fat. So let's talk about the low FODMAP diet. Thanks to Monash University and their research on how diet affects IBS, we now have the low FODMAP diet. And it's not meant to eliminate FODMAPs from your diet completely, but really to monitor your intake in order to keep servings low enough in FODMAPs that you don't experience those symptoms we talked about earlier as often. But the low FODMAP diet isn't really suitable for everyone. You really shouldn't follow this diet without an IBS diagnosis. Because gastrointestinal symptoms can be common across many illnesses, it's really important to seek out a medical professional's advice and a diagnosis. To learn more about the low FODMAP diet, join us next week for our last video in the series, What is the Low FODMAP Diet?